Musa, since we're casual for one more minute.
What I wanted to say before any questions is thank you so much, everyone, for telling my story and believing in my story, and also making it this story, not just my story, to be our story. And I don't know, dreams do come true, but you never really believe they do until they do. So I'm so touched by this, and thank you so much.
It's a gift to us to see your work, Musa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, let's just start then. Musa, first of all, everyone, this is NomusaMtshali. I always like to translate their name from isiZulu, because I think it's a fabulous name just to start, and I think it's so fitting with their work. Nomusa means grace, and Mtshali means, well, roughly translated as gardener, or one who makes things grow. Musa, you probably explain it much more since it's your language. But just as an introduction, a tiny introduction, I've known Musa for a very long time, and our friendship has, blossomed, pun intended. I guess we've tried to figure it out. I think it's been about 5 years or something now. But maybe it's been like 5 lifetimes, we're not sure. And so that's how,
whichever one comes first.
What's that?
Whichever one comes first. 5 years, 5 lifetimes.
Right. What's time anyway? It's all very liminal and stretchy.
I mean,
Musa comes to Proto Gomez, where the show is, yesterday was the last day. Musa comes to Proto Gomez through me, but Proto Gomez is Nick DePiro, Enrico Gomez, and Priscilla Fusco, who are also on the Zoom here. That is Proto Gomez. It's a gallery in the Lower East Side, which you all probably know about because you got the link for this Zoom, so there it is. And yeah, so that's the background on what's going on. So I just to start us off.
Wait, Sarda, I just want to make one clarification. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm just a quiet sort of person that slips in once in a while with Proto Gomez. I'm not actually part of the official roster. I don't know how else to describe it, but I just wanted to clarify that for legal reasons. Okay, anyway, I'm out.
Priscilla. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I apologize for interrupting.
The lawyers just texted me. Okay, it's okay.
So Musa, do you want to just start us off by explaining perhaps the title of the show and who Titanium is?
The title of the show is Titanium in Illuvian Fields, but in isiZulu, which is my language, heaven is called Izulu, which is also what our claim name is. I am Umzulu. So in a sense, we always refer our clan people to be heavenly. But what struck me as a queer person, you are always told within the clan, by the clan people, that there's no space for queer people in heaven. And that was the inspiration behind. And also to just protest and also create my own space where I can be who I am without feeling like heaven is a destination, but heaven is within. So since I'm by my clan name, I am already a heavenly child. It was just fitting to create heaven in a visual format, and also not be shy to be queer in that heaven. So titanium, whenever gender was brought up, even as a young kid, it was always a question on whether I am female or male, presenting, or biologically. So by presenting, I mean when I was much older, like say 10 years from now, people will ask me, am I feminine presenting as a lesbian, or am I masculine presenting? But it was always that constant in between for me, because there are situations, experiences, encounters that will require my masculine priority to stand forth and be masculine for those situations to be resolved or to be experienced in a way that suits me as a person. And there are times where I really have to be female presenting and nurturing. And I always go within myself and find all those priorities already there for me to tap into them when necessary. So with titanium is my inner being, how I see myself, how I am very a soft person in a sense of physicality, and also spiritually, I'm very calm. Like it takes a lot for me to be angry. So that already will always make people experience me as a very feminine person. But at the same time, I'm a very, like titanium, the element, the chemical, I very patient, very strong, and I've done things that within my family they will say only men would do it. Things like I grew up in a shack, and the exact translation to English would be a madhouse, and I knew at a very young age that it is part of my dream to make sure that my family don't end up in a madhouse. And I built a house, but in the process of before I even built a house, when I first approached my mom, I was like 22 years old, and my mom is a domestic worker, and she still doesn't earn much even this day. So when I approached her 22 years old and I was still working as an intern, I told her that I've already decided to start building our family home, and I know it would take a long time. But her response was, even men don't really fulfill that dream. So why am I going for that ambitious and far-fetched dream? But I always see a man in me as much as I see a woman in me. So I knew deep down that that is one thing that I can do, and that's one thing that I have to do, regardless of whether I'm male in biological sense of my physicality or female. So I did do that that dream, but also that particular encounter with my mom made me realize that I need to tap into who I need to be when necessary, so that I manifest the things that I want in life, and also live the life that I believe I deserve without being discriminated, shamed, or feared into being someone I'm not.
Thank you. My computer's going to run out of batteries, not found my cord. That's the truth of what I'm doing right now. But let me ask you another question while I'm plugging my computer in, because
Okay.
I'm so ready for this that I. So how did you first meet titanium? Like, where did titanium first develop from? Was titanium always with you, or were you like, hey, who are you? That's cool. Let's hang out.
Okay, so my story of being androgynous, I always tell you the story. As a kid at school, it was a compulsory thing in South Africa. It was a governmental law that was governing township schools, or I grew up in a township, and the schools in the township were run by government, and they were running under the governmental laws. And one of those laws were because most of those schools as well were just Black schools, if I may use the term Black, even though I prefer African schools. But yeah, and that law was to shave our hair after they've grown into a certain length. And it's part of the law. And if you don't, the teacher is allowed to cut that hair as rough as they want, or send you home, and you won't study that day because you didn't trim your hair or cut your hair short. So my school days, I would always be on a very, very bold, if not very short hair, until I started high school, which is like 14 years old. So within those years, from 7 years old to 14 years old, I always had my hair short. And at school as well, there were a lot of spaces dedicated to female presenting people and or biological female people who assist, who see themselves female. And I would always find myself in those spaces because of my biological being. And then I would always have to explain to the teachers who are new, or the students who didn't know me before, that no, I belong in these spaces. So I am female. So as a kid already, I was already explaining myself a lot to people, whether or not I'm male or female. And fast forward to middle years on that school, and I joined the choir. And by default of my voice, my childhood voice, the choir conductor decided that my voice is not suitable for alto or soprano. So I have to stand in line with tenor singing people. And that meant I was the only person born in a female body standing in that line. And even when we go to competitions, people just treat me as a boy. So I sort of enjoyed that in a sense, but deep down, I always knew that it's not because I believe I should be gendered in any way, or I need to, like, my soul, in a sense, in essence, doesn't have gender. So it's not a matter of what my genitalia is a matter of the alignment of my soul with myself. And I, as I said, I tap into these priorities very well and very easily. And I've always done that as a kid, but I was never shy or scared or feeling inadequate when I was put into this category of being a boy or male, even as a young person. Fast forward to when I have to start dating and I'm approaching girls, and girls will tell me straight up that if you're a boy, yes, we'll go out. And then I started to realize, oh, okay, sometimes I need to use this male energy in me. And yeah, in essence though, with that experience at school of having your hair cut short and all that, after my uncles or my aunt had cut my hair, I would also just take Vaseline and take this cut off hair, put them around my face and goof around with my family, and they would just laugh. And other kids will also pick up those hair and put them in their faces, and we'll be just these short, slim men running around and just goofing around. So to me, it was always this playful space where I'm allowed to just feel how I feel and present how I present, and make people engage with me without me feeling like I need to be in a certain type of gender. I'm just myself. So with this series of Titanium, I borrowed a lot from my childhood. And I wanted to keep it beautiful because my childhood was very beautiful, no matter what other people may think. And I also wanted to keep it very calm and not too much masculine, even though I would say most of the images, people were just thinking I'm trying to be a man. But I was trying very hard to just be a natural being in this field and experiencing life in calmness and beautiful surroundings and just exist. So I don't know if I answered the question, but yeah, the answer is in there somewhere.
Sorry, I was muted.
Sorry.
And why the fields? Why the? I'm going to share my screen just for a second. I'm going to the artsy page of Proto Gomez. Proto Gomez's artsy page, which is linked also to the their website. If you go to Proto Gomez's website, the artsy page is there. And I'm just sharing, I'm interested a lot in hearing you talk about your relationship to, you call them fields, but I would, oops, yeah, here. But they could be called a lot of different things. Flowers, springtime, nature.
Garden.
Nature. I'm just interested in you talking also about titanium's relationship to nature, to flowers, to springtime, to these exact fields or fields in general of wildlife. Now I'll stop sharing so we can now look at you again.
Yes, that particular series was done during Tupelo, Durban, and you know Tupelo because we met there. But for those who don't know what Tupelo is, for those who don't know what Tupelo is a non-profit organization and a lot of other organizations, but this one in particular is designed to link artists who would never meet, like I wouldn't have met Sarada if I wasn't part of that Tupelo workshop in 2017. So it presents us also with materials to work with and spaces that we've never been. Like the one in Durban, I am from Durban, but it took me into another part of Durban that I wasn't going to visit. I haven't ever visited after even. And when I got to this location, we had to walk around. It was a beautiful green, Durban is a very beautiful green space. And I wanted to, especially since I experienced it and I felt like, oh, there's such, what is this English word? But there's such richness of nature around this space. And there's such, we went in springtime, so there was such a beautiful blossom of the flowers. And it was in a very unexpected way, a space where a friend of mine who I've known longer was also part of this workshop. And in this workshop, we have to produce a body of work, but also work with the material that they give us, because they also provide us with material. But before I even went there, I always had talked to this friend of mine who I came to this residency with, that I wanted to create this space or be in this space where titanium can just show the calmness and peacefulness of heaven or the experience similar to heaven and take images of that. But what ended up happening, since I was in a Tupelo workshop, and it wasn't the first time I was being titanium in that workshop, the first time I was fully engaging with titanium, it was 2016. I was still in Cape Town, not in Durban. And it was because of the work environment that made me feel like I really had to think about transitioning because I always feel inferior in spaces like work, in corporate spaces where they will use terminologies like lady, ma'am, or also undersee people just because of their gender or their biological gender assignments. So in this workshop, it was my third performance as titanium. And in this particular one, we were like 14 artists, 2 of which I've known before, and 11 of which I've never met before. And I wanted these people to also experience titanium, to also engage with him and also give me feedback on how titanium is and how they can help me create this space, which is also titanium, a space where I can be with all those experiences, and expressions are equally important. So yeah, this, I feel like we've been talking about this project, and I feel that this space in particular is a great space for it because, as I said, the environment was just evergreen and the flowers were just blossoming, and I was also just mentally and physically prepared for another series with titanium. And the first one was about religion, and I was wearing a pink collar, and I was just engaging with people in the garden as well, but trying to tap into the religion side of experiencing titanium, but also making sure that people understand that titanium is a queer being, is not just a male being. And yeah, it started in 6:30 in the morning because the sun rises very early in Durban. So we woke up at 4:30, and by 6:30 I was titanium, fully fledged titanium. And we went into the field. And as we walked into the field, another queer person who's also non-binary, like me, like gender non-conforming, asked to join into the shoot. Unfortunately, a week after that, he passed away, or they passed away, as they would prefer to be called. So with that experience for me, it was a beautiful situation, meeting this preparation that I was going through, with this friend of mine who's really been with me in this concept of titanium and feeding into it and working with me towards it. And then now this other person who just heard about titanium and who related a lot about titanium ended up calling himself titanium or themselves titanium, because they related so much with the idea of just being yourself and expressing yourself the way you need to when the situation allows you to. So at 6:30, I was already in the field, and I saw them joining me into the field as well. So it's what, from then on, after I put on that beard and I was in the garden or the green space, because yeah, they do have like vegetation as well growing in that space. It just, I leaned toward the flowers, or the images that came out best were when I was in a flower garden. So we started taking pictures out of the blue, and I was still thinking I'm still going to drink my first cup in the morning. But yeah, as my friend was just ready and seeing me with this beard, just started taking pictures. And this performance was like a day, as any other titanium performance, because when I start wearing that beard, I take it outside to people, to social spaces, and I also make sure that I engage with these people. I create these dialogues that are necessary. Shoot. Oh. Other artists. So fast forward to the middle of the day when I started being in this flower garden after the coffee shots were taken. And then also Ngobeko, the other non-binary person, was joining me. I then started playing around, and I also didn't realize at the time also that my friend, also an artist, Talente, was also watching me. So I started playing with the flowers, because I love flowers. I grow flowers, even where I stay, I have flowers. Right now, I'm also growing even avocado trees, like I have 3 of them. I have a fern flower. I have rosemary herbs. Like I really love planting, and it's something that my grandmother made sure that it stays in the family, because also our name is about making things grow, making seeds of life continue giving life. So as I was just playing with these flowers, as I would naturally do, my friend had started taking these photos without me realizing it. And then I took a bunch of flowers, I created a crown, no mirror around, and I put it in my hair, and I walked towards her. When I get to her and trying to ask, what do you think about this? She just showed me this picture she just took of me with this flower crown. And it's all naturally unfolded. I wasn't thinking a lot about anything but just enjoying being myself, wearing a beard, because I really love beards, especially in my face. And yeah, the friend of mine, the one that passed away, joined in as well. And we just took a lot of pictures. And before we knew it, it was like 6 in the afternoon. And we had to present this work, because it was also my day of presenting my work, because that's what you do in this type of residencies. You tell other artists what you're working on, the journey you're in, and what kind of collaboration you can create with them. So when I was about to talk to them about being titanium and who they just experienced, I already had this bunch of photographs. So I had a beautiful opportunity, which I'm so glad that I took, which presented me not just with the opportunity to be titanium, but also to take images as titanium, and also to select good images, because these artists helped me select the ones that will work, and also talk to other artists about this gender complex, this structure that as still to be revisited every now and again, because everything changes every now and again. So it was just location. It was a matter of location, and it was also a matter of preparation, because I was already working on this project with a friend of mine. And then it so happened that it happened in the Tupelo workshop, where we were both selected to just explore and collaborate, and it became this beautiful collaboration between the 3 of us.
And with that, I'd love also for you to, I'm going to share the screen just again to the artsy page of Proto Gomez. And so I'm also interested in you talking about your process, because I know that you're not just a photographer. You, there are these photos which we're showing at Proto Gomez, and especially we can talk about these portraitures maybe. But cool. So what is your process from photo to then I know you're a sculptor and a painter. So
yes.
So do you want to talk a little bit about your process? And I know that this middle photo of you with the crown of it's my word I call it a crown. I'm not sure what you call it. That titanium is wearing a crown of flowers. I know that image has made it into a lot of paintings that you've made. Do you want to talk a little bit about how the 3 mediums come together, photo, sculpture, and painting for you?
Yeah. Where again, it always go back to how I grew up and how those experiences feed who I am as an adult. So growing up, I always drew, like I always doodled, and I didn't have an art subject at school. And also I didn't have so many artists. Like all I knew was I like to draw. I didn't know it was called art, and I didn't know there was a whole world of people like me who just like to express themselves with just visual creations instead of just speaking. And I also, growing up, I always my experiences, past experiences, and also envisioning the future, the possibilities lying ahead. So everyone at school knew me as that person who was drawing all the time. And soon teachers will pay me to decorate their files, their registration files of us students. And soon also after Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z came out, a lot of children will pay me 50 cents. 50 cents was a big thing in my primary school at the time. I could get pay me to draw these characters from these cartoons that we all enjoyed watching after school. So even when I grew up and changed school into high school, I became that one person who will sit down, be quiet, and just draw. So I did still in high school, I didn't know it was art, and I didn't know it was a big deal as it is, but it was just something that I always find myself doing and always find comfort and trueness of who I am when I'm doing it. So in matric, by luck even, because I think we are the only class that's got the opportunity to go to career guidance tour, and we went, but I didn't know art was an option still. So I was leaning towards stands that were talking about business, economics, accounting, but all those financial subjects that I was good at school, in a sense. But then when I was busy standing in those stands, my classmates at the time, like my matric classmates, started shouting my name in a very loud sense. Like it just shocked me. And then when I answered, they said, come see, they're doing your things, because they also didn't know what art was. So I was wondering what my things. So I ran. When I got there, I found two white women, or at the time I did see them as girls because they were my age in a sense, not too older than me, with blonde hairs, very intimidating. And mind you, I am coming from a local township school, so I haven't spoken English very much with white people other than the people my mom and my grandma worked for. So seeing that they're doing what I'm always doing, I've been doing since I was a kid, I really wanted to talk to them and find out how come it's in the career guidance talk. Can it be a career? What is it called? And then as I was talking to these young women, they told me, no, yes, this is a career and this is something you can choose to study. And studying it means that you can learn even more techniques on how to be visual about your stories, in not just drawing forms, but also in ways that you can create other things. And they showed me clay works. And as a kid as well, we'll always go by the river and play with clay and create cows and create small miniature people. So when they showed me all these things, I felt like, oh, I'm entering into this world that I belong in and I didn't even know it existed. So I was totally excited. I changed my application form. My first subject to choose or course to choose was then fine art, which I was accepted for because I already had accumulated a portfolio without even knowing I was accumulating a portfolio. So when I was in art school, they then teach us ceramics, printmaking, photograph, design, a little bit of design, and also how to write about these stories and how to paint them and make sculptures out of them. And this course was a 4-year course structure because at the same time, as much as they liked my portfolio, they felt like that I didn't have art history background. And in my experience, what I understood by then is that when they asked me questions about your Picasso, your Monet, your well-known Western artists, I wouldn't know them because I didn't know what art was. So I then had to do an augmented course, which means like a bridging course in which I can learn about art history and know about artists who've made careers in just creating artworks and visual things. So yeah, with that choice, which I really much appreciate, I then learn all the other techniques and ways to just tell stories in a visual format. And I also understood when I was still studying that some stories are better told in a photographic format, some better told as sculptures, some are location specific. So there was a lot of new information that came into me that made me realize I could use this in not just here in school, but my whole entire life. So hence my work is varying from just experience, pure experimenting, and to sculpture if that the story I want to tell into physicality and fixation, because some stories are fixed, or in the way that you can tell them in a fixed format as sculpture. But with titanium, I still feel like gender is a facade. Like we all wear this facade so that we are correctly addressed. And I always struggle with this way of making people understand that this is who I am, and I'm not trying to be either or, I'm just myself. And with paintings, I always throw back to the photographic series that I'm making, to, if I'm not doing commissions, obviously, but I'll always go back to these photographs that I've already created and repaint them in pink sky, something similar to what I do with my work, because I'm not at my studio, I'm where I stay, is that with pink skies at the back. So I'll just paint this world, which I also call titanium. And this world is not patriarch, as the world Earth we live in is very patriarch, and the overarching sky or color is always blue. So since my titanium is where I feel comfortable, the overarching sky is always pink, and I have a binary moon and sun within the same thing, because I also believe like the polarities, male or masculine polarity comes from the sun. And I also believe that the feminine polarity comes from the moon. So I always have this moon presenting these two polarities and powers, always influencing everything that exists on Earth equally, without imbalances. So when I paint it, it's much easier to express that world and those polarities than when I take photographs. But for people to experience me, it's best if I'm physically there and I'm wearing a beard, or in photographs, and also in photograph wearing a beard. because then I could, without telling people, because I don't normally tell people what my pronouns are. I let them decide as they please. So also when I'm wearing a beard, I also don't tell them how to address me. They decide themselves. So I'll hear them saying he, and when I'm in conversation as Titanium, they will always refer me as a he. And I always like that in photographs, I'm always gonna be able to play with the facades easier than I would with paintings and sculptures. So yeah, it just always depends on what story I'm trying to tell and what the best technique out of all the technique that I learned from art school I could use to tell the story.
Thank you, Musa. So we don't have that much longer, and I just wanted to open it up to see if anyone had any questions for Musa. I mean, I have 5,000 questions for Musa that I've probably asked 5,000 times before. I could ask more, but wanted to. I get to talk to them all the time. So like, if you all have any questions that you want to ask Musa, I think you can unmute yourself. I think I've given you permission to unmute yourself and just yell it out. Sort of, slightly. Musa, can you hear them?
Yes. Okay, now not.
Type it in the chat.
Is that better?
Hard to hear you, buddy.
Oh,
Yeah, me too.
1 second. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Is that better?
Yes.
All right. What I was going to ask is your ideas about the sun and the moon. Is that something that you were taught? Is that something you kind of figured out on your own?
I would say, yeah, I don't believe I could do anything on my own. It's always experiencing people and also borrowing from other people's knowledge and then making my own sense. But as I mentioned before, I was always, as a kid, someone who always tap into my spirituality and tap into the inner person that I am inside and shut out the world around. But also, growing up, there were a lot of people in my family who believe in astronomy and astrology, I mean, and will always tell me about how this universe I'm in is much bigger than I think. And also the stars that are far away are not always just stars. Some of those stars are universes that also influence things that are happening here on Earth. But at the same time, I always knew as a kid that we rely a lot on the energy from the sun. And also around where I grew up, as I said before, there was a river, and this river will always rise at some time of the month. Like every month it will be more cooler than it was. And elders will always tell us as kids that it's the moon pulling the water within the river and making it seem like it's more fuller than it was before. So growing up with all those experiences, and my culture is basically even now, because I'm also like leaning towards verbal communication and also oral storytelling instead of written storytelling. So all those stories growing up influenced my understanding of the world around me, not just Earth, but also as I was growing up, I also realized that, yeah, there are days where I will be emotional a lot than other days. And I will also realize that on those days, the full moon is out there. So that made me, because I love the moon so much. And also I love the sun, because also we have many stories talking about the melanin in our skins and how the sun is always giving that power to create this melanin and how important it is to be proud of your dark skin, and all those things will always be giving power or praise to the sun. So from that, and then went into how this creation, this realm, this earth is also designing itself, because as we all know, earth is always creating and recreating, borrowing from its subconscious memory. As we all know, we look like our forefathers who never met before, because we are children of the earth, and that's how earth reproduces itself. So how then this gender comes around was always my question, because I had always to have to answer whether I'm male or female by default. So learning about astrology made me realize that the astrologists always refer to the sun as the father, the son of the energy giver, yeah, the power that we all borrow from. And it's the undying power. And to me, it sounded a lot like how they would refer to God when they were always talking about the sun. But also, it also, to me, sounded a lot like the soul, the energy within me that I can't touch, but I know is always there, and I can always tap into, and I always have tapped into when I was drawing. And then with the moon, it was always about this river that I grew up next to, and how I was interested in how it really rises whenever the full moon is there. And I always make sure that when it's rising, and I'll go check if the full moon is out to see if these stories that have been told to me are real. And I'll always find that, yes, the full moon is out there and the river is full. So from there, I then took it into what I would find in the internet, and that's where the male plurality is mostly the knowledge from male and female pluralities come from how other people explain the power coming from, or the influence coming from the moon to the earth, and also the influence coming from the sun to the earth, and how also the moon holds the earth in place in a space good enough for the sun to hit the earth and give life to it without scorching us all. But at the same time, how the moon itself is also far, light years away from the sun. So I always had been interested in that relationship, in that influence. And then I went into understanding gender in flowers, and I realized some flowers have both male and female varieties, and how they rely on the bees to also help them, on birds to help them reproduce or procreate. And to me, looking at the flowers, to me, it was even more evident that this gender thing is not something that is explaining whether you are a masculine or you are male or female. It's just the way you or your body is recreating itself to recreate or procreate or give birth. So our genitalia is as useful for us creating kilts, but it doesn't then change whether or not you are male or female. So this is a structure that we created as humans, and in a process also didn't allow any ambiguities, like people who will have ambiguous genitalia would be tortured. We know those stories, and I'm not trying to go there, but at the same time, it's something that's happened because as humans, we're trying a lot to structure how we recreate and how we should be just binary. And a lot of what I'm tapping into with this moon / sun is that they are both equally important, and they both equally influence everyone, whether or not you can procreate using sperms or using eggs. At the end of the day, you are influenced by the moon as much as you are influenced by the sun. And we all are equally.
Thank you, Musa, and thank you. I think your name is Nicholas, because that's what it says on my screen for the question. I was gonna stop this at 2. I'll stay on for as long as anyone wants to stay on with Musa. But at 2, I was gonna like officially end it, and because I know it's in the, we all have a Sunday, and I also know it's late at night in Cape Town. So any last thoughts or quick comments or questions before we officially end it too? Again, I'll stay on. I'll just keep it open and stay here as long as you all want to be here, but officially it's going to end at 2. So Charlotte, I see you unmuted.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing your work with us. And it's been really wonderful to listen to you talk, and you give yourself so much permission in your work, in your life. It's really inspiring. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for giving the platform to share this story, and also to welcome it in such a way that I was never going to be able to do it on my own.
And thanks everyone for coming also to share this celebration of titanium and springtime. Although, as I keep saying over and over again, it's now autumn / almost winter, yes. Where Musa is. But,
where I am, yes.
But it's springtime and almost summer where we are. So it's, the circle, it's fitting. It's a fitting thing. So just thanks to everybody. Yeah.
When the photograph were taken.
Musa, you froze for a second. Were you saying that when things were taken, it was taken in spring?
Yeah. Yes, these photographs were also taken in spring. So when you say springtime, I in my head, I'm also thinking you are also referring. Okay.
Referring to what? Sorry, you're the.
Yeah, I just gave you a notification that my internet is, is bad. But yeah, those photographs were taken in springtime. So when you say it's springtime, I'm always thinking in my head, you are referring to the time in which the photographs were taken. So it's so relevant.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
I'm referring to all of it. I actually was referring to when it was taken and the utopia that it's taken in, but fitting that it's now in our spring in New York. So both of those. And yeah, and also, I mean, the world's had quite a time. So celebrating seems really great to do. Celebrating life and utopia and queerness and being African and everything just seemed very, very apropos to what we're doing. All right, so it's now just we can just go into a casual format. And for those of you who have things to do on your Sunday, thanks so much for joining us. It's really great to see all your faces and also see your name and know that you're here. And again, I'll be here. I don't know how long Musa actually has because it's late at night there, but I'll be here keeping it open for anyone until you all leave me. But yeah, we can just now be casual and speak casually. And if you would like, I will stop the recording. Maybe that'll, for those of you who joined later, I recorded this. I have colleagues who wanted to show their students. So I was recording this while we talked. But I'm going to stop the recording now so that maybe those of you who are shy want to be like, very vocal.